From Venezuela comes a very cryptic and potentially startling prophecy from the mystic Maria Esperanza. She's a servant of God, and she said the words in the early 1990s, "It will start here," meaning Venezuela. And I'd like to explore what that could possibly mean. Now, Maria Esperanza was known kind of like a female Padre Pio. She had many of his gifts, the stigmata, bilocation, healing, prophecy, miracles, and she received visions of Our Lady in the church-approved apparitions of Betania, Venezuela, that began on March 25th, 1976. So, are her prophecies anything to pay attention to? It seems that they are. I could mention a couple of them in which things that God showed her in advance did come true. For instance, when Pope John Paul II had an assassination attempt on his life on May 13th, 1981, the night before that day, she was shown by God that it would happen, and she was utterly distraught. And so she prayed all night, and she offered her suffering. She offered herself as a victim for the Pope. And as we know, he lived. She also went on after that offering to suffer for 3 horrendous months, pains in her stomach and in her womb. So another thing that happened allegedly was that before the attack on the Twin Towers, before 9/11, she was shown the 2 towers in New York, and she was shown smoke coming from them, and she was shown them imploding. So that was another prophecy she was given, very, very specific. So in light of recent events in Venezuela, I wanted to find out more about what Our Lady might have said to her about our times and these words, "It will start in Venezuela." What is it? Her words don't exactly refer to a specific event in an interview that she had with Michael Brown of Spirit Daily, who wrote The Bridge to Heaven, that I'll refer to. But in the interview that Michael Brown had with her, there are clues to what "it will start here" likely means. So what are the recent events in Venezuela? We have nuclear submarine and 8 battleships in the region because of rampant drug trafficking linked to the Maduro regime. So the U.S. is operating covertly, firing on drug boats, flying strategic bombers overhead. And now, January 3rd, in a press conference, Trump just said that the United States has captured President Maduro and his wife and is holding them captive in the United States. Also, Trump said the U.S. would be very strongly involved in Venezuelan oil. He said they've done a quote-unquote large-scale strike against Venezuela and that the U.S. will now run Venezuela. A huge claim. 15,000 Venezuelan troops were sent to their border as U.S. warships were approaching. So in the early 1990s, when Maria Esperanza said "it will start here," it was very confusing. Venezuela was a prosperous, stable nation, certainly not one to get involved in a geopolitical hotspot. But now it's a nation in dire crisis, economic collapse worse than the Great Depression, 32 million people unable to afford basic food and medicine. It has become a place of great turmoil and a potential military flashpoint. So why? With all that the U.S. is doing, a series of confrontations could explode into a major military conflict. How could a regional dispute trigger a global disaster? 2 key reasons. 1, Venezuela possesses vast oil and mineral resources, making it a strategically valuable place. 2nd, President Maduro is backed by global powers often at odds with the U.S., Russia, Iran, and China. So as the U.S. moves against Maduro, these nations could rise up and see the United States and this action as a direct threat to them. And Russia could intervene with its own forces. China could ramp up its own conflicts, perhaps invading Taiwan. And here perhaps another quote that Maria Esperanza said sheds light on what may be happening in our future. She said, with no ethnic disrespect in mind, in her native Spanish, the yellow races will stand up. We could have China, Russia, Iran, maybe North Korea colluding against the U.S., and this would put two world powers directly against each other. So the world is already on edge. We're already in a time of great uncertainty, and tensions with Russia are at a peak when it comes to the Ukraine. To say a little bit more about what Our Lady said to Maria Esperanza about our potential future, Michael Brown was interviewing Maria Esperanza, and he said to her, Mary has told you that ... there will be a nuclear event and natural disturbances. And this is how Maria Esperanza responds. She says, eventually something will come up. In 1953, I was told things that will happen. Russia will act before the United States in a surprise way. In 1972 or 1973, Our Lady appeared to me and said she would try to avoid clashes between the West and East because it would be something very grave. Michael says, you say we're on the doorstep of a war. Is it soon? Is it 10 years from now? Is it avoidable? Maria responds, really, I cannot say, ... But you make clear that we can mitigate it, Michael says. Now, here's where you and I come in, the mitigation. So I'm going to say what I'm going to just personally suggest because it came to me in prayer. And then I'm going to say what Maria Esperanza is asking the world to do, or asked the world to do, since she's now passed on. She died in 2004. So I am asking the world to offer up your sufferings. There's a lot of suffering going on out there, mental, emotional, physical, interrelational, familial, so much suffering. And it's being wasted because we Catholics know that we can offer up our suffering, know that when we nail it to the cross, miracles happen. We know that our suffering is powerful. So it just takes a tilt of the mind. It takes a remembrance of, oh yeah, I am not just called to complain. In fact, I'm not called to complain at all. I'm called to use this for great, great good. So every day say, Lord, whatever I go through, I offer this up for world peace. And here's what Maria Esperanza says. With the rosary, we can placate the thirst for revenge in men who want to destroy their brothers through their desire to have material riches. Our Lady begs us to pray, begs, she says, 15 decades a day, the joyful, the sorrowful, and the glorious mysteries. Now, when she was speaking, there weren't yet the luminous, so we could choose any three of those mysteries, and Our Lady is begging us to pray 3 full mysteries a day. That kind of prayer is needed in such an example of trying to avert war, right? Our Lady of Medjugorje says, you have forgotten, my dear children, that prayer and fasting can ward off wars, suspend natural laws. So prayer, especially the rosary, and fasting are very much called for right now. So the Holy Rosary is the way, says Maria. We have to begin to do this so that we can overcome every negative force that comes near us. What a beautiful thought. A very difficult moment will arrive, but there will remain good because the light and the grace of the Holy Spirit will always illumine a few people who still desire justice in the world. The truth and the recognition of Jesus with his love throughout all times. This is at least a little bit of hope for people because people can get panicked. You have to give to the consciousness of men the message that this world can change and that everything is going to be in the right way, that it is going to be very well. We must be balanced in all that we do and think, a very great balance. The truly spiritual life requires great balance. The messages, she's referring to the messages at Betania from Our Lady, are teaching of wisdom and humility. We must have hope for mankind, for humanity. So please join me in praying, in fasting, and in offering up our sacrifices and suffering for world peace. The world is in dire need, and we can help it.